about 80 or 90% of your profit comes from iron ore, depending how you work it out. But 2/3 of the assets of the company, the book values of the assets of the company, are in non-iron ore assets. They produce very little profit. Do you think there's got to be a write-down at some point of time to bring the value of the assets into line with what the profitability is? This is the non-iron ore assets.
Yeah, no, look, I understand the comment, and we are a diversified company, and different parts of our business get their time in the sun at different times. We are very conscious about value of the business, and each year our board reviews carrying values and so on, and we have taken some heavy write-downs to pick up on your point. But we also believe, looking at our long-term projections for price, that we'll see more balance in our portfolio going forward, and the chairman alluded to that today.
But the asset values look way out of line with current market values and profitability. That is, the non-iron ore assets. It just doesn't look right.
Yeah. Look, there are people that say that we're not a diversified, that we're overweight in iron ore. Well, the board's view of that is, if that's a problem, then that's a good problem to have.
Yes,
because we're doing well. But in terms of carrying value, as I say, we do review those regularly. We certainly review it annually. And I think we've been very realistic in terms of the approach that we've taken there.
So you think there's going to be a big rise in, say, the aluminium price to justify the current book value?
Yeah, I made comments in the AGM that there's been a lot of aluminium capacity come on in the west of China as a result of they're utilising coal to produce power, with power assets that are stranded. There's basically no network or grid for them to use. Over time, I'm not saying tomorrow, but over time, as China moves to a consumption-led economy, people are going to buy refrigerators and air conditioners and TV, and guess what? They're all going to need power. The power will come from that aluminium, from the power that's being used to produce aluminium. And you might think, oh well, Sam, what are you talking about? Have a look at Japan. Have a look at what MITI did in the 1970s. There are no aluminium smelters in Japan. Why? Well, they're efficient enough, but they've made a strategic decision that it's better to have that power converted into use by SMEs and by the public, rather than by producing metal.
What's the time frame for this? 5 years? 10 years?
Look, I suspect it will be in that time frame. It's not going to happen overnight. But we do have investors on our portfolio who are very optimistic about the future of aluminium, and that's why they're on our register. Now, if you look at our aluminium business, 2012 we made 50 million earnings. Last year we made 550 million. And I know you're going to say, well, if you look at return on equity, you're not there. I know we're not there, but we're heading in the right direction. So we're improving our costs, we're improving our efficiency, and there'll be a bit of kick up on the aluminium price over time too.
Perhaps we can just get you to talk a little more generally about Rio now. You have been in the job that long. What was wrong with the company when you took it over?
Well, there was nothing wrong with the company. The company
yes, there was.
had solid foundations, good people, good assets. Yes, the company needs to be led in the right way and headed in the right direction. And certainly in mustering the support of our 66,000 people, we have been able to successfully beat our targets for cost reduction, beat our targets for reducing our evaluation and exploration expenditure, reduce our capital by 26%. All of that's actually meant that we are a much, much stronger company now than we were a year ago. Now, can you turn around a company in a year? No. But that's actually good news, because it actually means that there's further opportunity for improvement beyond what we've achieved this year or this last year.
Can you give us some specifics about the changes that you've made since taking over?
Yeah. And this is going to sound incredibly trite, I've refocused the culture of the organisation so people operate as business owners. And you can say, well, what's the difference between an owner and a manager? Let me assure you, there's a big difference.
No, I understand the difference. I just wonder how you do that, how you've done that.
Yeah, well, it's in terms of the way that we engage with people, involve people, the decisions that we make, asking people directly when they bring forward a project. Would you mortgage your house and put the money into this project? And if they hesitate, the project doesn't go ahead. Spending money as if it's your own, and you can say, well, again, it's pretty trite, Sam, but it actually works. We have a business that has a long tail. It's like your credit card. You can remember that you bought a new suit or a new dress or a computer or whatever, and you think, well, when the bill comes, I've got to be mindful of that. What you can't remember is that you spent $10 on this, $20 on that, $50 on this. When you get the darn bill at the end of the month, all of that long tail adds up to be more than the item that you were worried about. That's what it's like running this business. It's almost contrary to what business schools teach you. Business schools say, well, if you look at the big things, the little things will look after themselves. They don't. And I needed to have 66,000 people focusing on what we're doing. I have made some changes in the way we look at the business. For example, we now forecast monthly. We used to forecast quarterly. I believe you need to see how the business is travelling. For the accountants of this world, it's lovely to look backwards and it's lovely to look for trends or what have you in what happened last month. I can't do anything about last month. It's gone. It's over. I can do something about this month and next month and the month after. So I've got the organisation looking forwards instead of looking back.
How far forward?
Well, clearly we have a 5-year plan, and it's broken down by years. But I've been focusing the business very much on the here and now, because I want people to make a difference, to make the decisions, and those decisions will roll forward into these later years.
You're watching this every month and saying, hey, you're watching your figures every month.
Yes.
To say, this business, the costs have gone up or something's gone wrong. I can fix it for next month.
Exactly. Now, I've got an example where in the very first month, I discovered we were building inventory for zircon and rutile. And I sat down with the team and said, well, what are we doing here? Are we building Mount Everest or are we running a business? And they go, well, this is the plan. And I said, well, hang on, wait a minute. You've got large stocks of zircon. What are you going to do with it? What's going to change? And so we actually slowed our zircon production. And guess what? It's paid off. It was a good thing to physically do. And we've received the benefit of it. I'm running the business for cash. Previously, we were running the business for earnings. And you can say, oh, well, that's a bit radical. It's not radical, it's how I was running iron ore. And as you both pointed out, iron ore, pretty good earnings, pretty good business. But running cash means that you actually optimise the business, not only in terms of revenue and cost, but also in terms of your development capital, your sustaining capital, your working capital.
Is it possible to run the whole business for cash?
I am doing exactly that. Right. I'm doing exactly that.
Does BHP do that? Does Vale do that?
I don't know what they do. I suspect they don't. But importantly, that's how I'm physically running the business.
So do you think there are major increased efficiencies that you can achieve in, say, coal or aluminium or the other parts of the group other than iron ore?
There are incremental improvements you can make, and we're doing that right now. But to answer your question, I believe that technology and innovation is going to be the way that you achieve that. We are introducing automated trucks. We have the largest fleet of automated trucks. We have 53 in the Pilbara, in iron ore. But we can migrate that to other mines.
And will you?
We will, yes. We're automating our trains in the Pilbara. We have a remote operations centre. Absolutely stunning. If you've not seen it, you need to go and have a look at it. We're automating our drill rigs. We're looking at dry ore sorting. Big data. 5 years ago, people had no idea what big data was about. Today, we're actually using it to analyse the data from our process plants all around the world. We're comparing plant to plant. We're comparing the same plant against what previous performance was. We're looking for aberrations. We're looking for issues where efficiency has dropped. The other day we picked up that a pump had actually been switched off in Mongolia. We picked it up from the centre in Brisbane, and those guys told the people in Mongolia, hey, you just lost a pump. You better go and have a look what's going on. Now, you can say, well, small issue. We improved our cash generation there, $80 million last year, through the operating of that centre. Now, we have the mine of the future. And it's a term that we've used to describe all these things that will actually give the quantum leap in performance and productivity. I'm the only person in the company that doesn't know what it means. Now you can say, well, what do you mean, Sam? You've just described it. I haven't described it. I don't know what we're going to be doing in the future. I do know it'll be very different to what we're doing now.
You won't have 66,000 people.
Well, I probably won't have. Well, I don't know. I may grow the business at the same time as I improve it.
The mine of the future is not going to require anywhere near the amount of people the current mine does.
It'll certainly require less people, you're right. But you've also got to recognise that young people, and not just in Australia, all around the world, young people want to live in capital cities. They don't want to go off and live in the middle of a remote area where God has decided to put a deposit. So we've got to be realistic. We've got to recognise that the world is changing and we need to change to meet that head on.
So if you could go forward 5, 10 years for this mine of the future, it's going to produce commodities or minerals at a far lower cost than the current mine.
Yes.
And that'll either be, you'll actually produce more of it as well.
Yes.
So that means the prices may actually come down.
Prices may come down if our competitors are able to follow us. But as you know, he's
hoping they don't.
Developing technology is not easy. It's not the idea, it's the actual implementation. And yes, we do have competitors trying to follow us. They don't get what we're doing. They don't understand it. They're not having the success.
Do you understand it?
I don't think they do, to be quite honest. I don't think they do.
Well, do they understand?
Well, Vale has got their own plans. I don't know directly what they're doing in terms of operations centre or automated equipment or what have you. I do know that they've got some very heady targets, and they are. They're very impressive competitors, don't get me wrong. But the particular tack that we're taking,
would you say
it's hard.
Would you
it's
say
difficult.
that you're at the forefront of mine automation
yes, I would.
in the world? In this, not just iron ore, across all mines?
Yes, no, I would absolutely. We're no longer looking at the mining industry for the next steps forward. We're looking at aerospace. We're looking at oil and gas. We're looking at some parts of manufacturing. We're even looking at agriculture. Technology for sorting millions of items an hour. It's going to come from agriculture, food products. It's not going to come from mining. So we need to draw on that. We're working with 5 universities around the world on different aspects of how we'll improve the business. But as I said, I don't want to limit the thinking there by saying this is what mine of the future means.
Which universities are you working with?
Yeah, well, in Australia we're working with University of Queensland, New South Wales and Western Australia. And we've got different programs operating at each.
We'll have to leave it there, Sam. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
No, thank you, Bob. Thanks, Alan.
That was fascinating.